Welcome everyone to today's edition of the SIG Instrumentation regular meeting. It is Thursday, October 1st, 2020. Does someone want to lead this meeting other than me? I seem to lead them every week. I'm pulling up the notes.
Sure, I can do it.
Great.
Let's see what we have.
I'm pasting the agenda in the chat and over to Frederick.
So actually the first point is by you. So revisiting caps targeted for 120 before enhancement freeze.
Yeah, let's maybe go back to that one at the end, because that could potentially like take up the whole meeting.
Okay. Next point. Actually, I think I just spoke to Lily and she said that you can't make today. So we can move that point to the next time. I think there was something about v1 klog compatibility or incompatibility not being. She heard that people didn't feel like that it was announced well enough. So maybe we can try to have kind of a public announcement about changes there. I'm not exactly sure what she was referring to. Need to.
Oh, speaking of which, I think we're due for a community update this month. Like I put us on the schedule, so we can potentially put that there.
That sounds good. That sounds good. If you, I mean, we should figure out who does that update and then figure out what. I don't exactly know. I just had a very quick conversation with her. And probably best for Mark and Lily to talk about what we should say there.
Yeah, I can try to chase that down. Normally I would say I did the last one, so it's Hans' turn to do this one, but I think he might still be out until we do that meeting, so I might end up doing this one too.
Okay, and then we're already on our last point. I mean, we'll go back to our first one, but Sergey, are you with us? Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing some, like, looking at PRs for SIG node, and a few of them, like, it started with deduplication of events. I needed some input from SIG instrumentation, and then I decided to just put more SIG instrumentation related PRs in one place. So if you have time to help with that, it will be great. So main topic is deduplication of events. So like it's a second section in a document. So there are two events with deduplication. First is adding container name to some backoff event. So I'm trying to understand what's the deal with with not being able to add a new piece of a string in an event. Like, how dangerous it is, and how, like, what's the general policy here? Because I see how, like, okay, so there is an event that's saying that container failed to start, and it doesn't include container name, which may be beneficial for some people to troubleshoot. And the Jordan commented that with container name, this event description wouldn't be repetitive enough, so deduplication wouldn't work. So I was trying to understand what's the deal here.
So just looking over this doc, I would maybe suggest, like, there's a big list of PRs here. Maybe we should review this at our next triage meeting. Okay. So that's normally where we go over like assigning PRs and ensuring that they're getting attention and that kind of thing.
Okay. Do you have any anything about like deduplication of events? Like, can we discuss it here, or it's also needs to go to triage meeting?
I suppose if Jordan commented on that, I would think it's probably about keeping number of events stored in etcd low. It's a very common thing that essentially the, let's say, cardinality of events kind of makes etcd explode. So I would trust if Jordan says that it's a problem, it's probably a problem. But it would probably be good to have that conversation together with him if he already has the context. Maybe we can invite him for next time.
It's okay. I can reach him on the Slack. I was just wondering if there is some guidance document, because in other PR in the same category about failed mount, it includes error message in an event. So I was just like contradicting myself. So on one hand, we don't want to put container name in the event, and on the other hand, we put error message, and error may be whatever. So it kind of doesn't align with my head in my head. So I was wondering if this sequence has like, is there somebody on this call who has enough context here?
Yeah, no, I don't think we have a general like set of guidelines what we do and what we don't do. That sounds like a good idea to do that, but I don't think that's necessarily helpful for your case here. I would say that we need to look at it on a case-by-case basis. So triage is probably our best bet.
And okay, on triage, you just will find somebody who knows about it.
Well, hopefully, during triage, we'll just look at each thing individually, and then typically we don't dive into details, but we at least assign someone to have a look at something, and so we could hopefully find someone then.
Thank you. It's a good idea. Thank you very much. And I will bring it to the next week then.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with that, then let's go back to Elena's topic.
Yes, KEP review. So KEP freeze is happening very soon, i.e. next Tuesday. So we've got like today and a weekend basically to try to get all the KEPs in order to be able to like do that work for this sprint, for this milestone, to ensure that like everything there looks like it's ready to go. So I am gonna share my screen and we can just go through them, because we have like a lot of KEPs currently for our SIG. Like there are, I think, 7, which is a lot. Or at least like a lot traditionally. I don't think we've ever tried to work on 7 KEPs simultaneously before. So we did this last meeting and I thought it was very helpful. And certainly the release team told me it was very helpful. So let's do it. So can everybody see my screen? I'm sharing the KEPs. I see some nodding. Sounds good. And I'm just going to go in like reverse alphabetical order, or sorry, reverse chronological order. How do words work? This one is very old. What is the status of this one? There are some updates.
Wojciech's last comment?
Yeah, I'm gonna just go back from like the updates from our last meeting. So we had put the milestone on here. Wojciech says, I linked to the presentation we got on this one in our meeting, which forced me to upload the meetings to YouTube. So now I know how to do that. Has basically been implemented, but there's a migration that needs to happen. So KEP got updated, it looks like.
Yep.
Okay, so this one is not tracked, and this will be closed when done. That sounds good to me. So nothing to be done there. And yeah, it's stage stable, not tracked. So sounds good. Tracing support. David, you want to talk about this one?
Yes, so I got to spend a bunch of time implementing this just to make sure that everything, all the API server egress stuff worked as expected. So I got that all working. And then I had Chow from the API Machinery SIG review the KEP as well. We decided to make some changes to the configuration. In particular, the API server has a concept of an egress. So for example, traffic going to the cluster, or traffic going to the master, or traffic going to etcd. And I was considering adding a new egress and calling it open telemetry for traffic going to the collector. But instead, we're going to do a file-based configuration where you can choose either a local URL, which is on the master network, or a service, which is assumed to be on the cluster network. So we'll use the existing egress types and are going to add a configuration instead, I do need to update the format of this KEP. So that's my one to-do item.
Yeah, I think, let's see, I'm just looking at the labels. It doesn't have an LGTM. Are you okay with me removing the hold and saying the last thing that this needs is just the test plans that they're asking for?
Yeah, it still needs, so I got Chow from API Machinery to review it, but I'd still like Lava Lamp Daniel to approve it.
Okay.
So
are you okay with
I
me
did ping him.
assigning?
He said, yeah, you can, I think it already is assigned to him.
Oh, okay.
It's cool. I've pinged him on Slack. He said he will review it, not yesterday, so maybe today. And I do need to add the test plan, but I think it should be good to go.
Huzzah. That's so exciting. Tracing.
It is exciting. I'm very excited.
I'm like singing and dancing here. I'm just that excited. Okay, so let's take a look at structured login. Merrick, I think this one was like in the best shape of all of them. So at least from what we last looked at it. So I guess the beta work on this was a maybe for 120. So how are we, do we have the availability or? Also, you're muted.
Yeah, I will try to look at it, but currently I will be trying to finish for beta of structure logging. I assume that will not, like, it's more finishing the work that, or like static analysis that needs to be done. I will be more focused on the second KEP, which is two logs, which is log sanitization, to make sure that we have. I think the missing part, that it's much smaller, just needs test plan. Here I didn't have too much time for structure logging. I didn't have too much time to. I will look at it, but I don't think I will be able to do that.
Okay. In that case, then, do you want me to remove this from the 120 for beta? Because it sounds like we're not going to make 120 for this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I can't spell. Okay. And hopefully the bot will do its thing. Do your thing, bot. Maybe I did oh, it's milestone clear, isn't it? I hate how they have like the 20 million labels. I'll come back and do that one later. It's like the bot, it cannot possibly be standardized. That would be ridiculous. This one says tracked no. So what's going on here?
I think it just got bumped recently to 121.
Okay, great. Oh yeah, it is milestone clear. Great. Okay, the milestone's gone for that one. Okay. Expose metrics about resource requests. This is Clayton's.
Yep.
He has updated them. He's working with the SIG. And he would like this to be target alpha for 120. This needs to obviously get merged and be implementable. So I think that we've just got to get the KEP merged. So I'll keep this on my radar.
Yep, I'm going to take another look as well.
Yeah, like it was mostly good to me when I last looked at it. There were some other people that needed to, I think, review as well. So that one's an exciting one. I'm very excited about that one. It's like, where was that 2 years ago?
Actually, I did have one quick question about that one.
Oh, sure.
I noticed that he suggested adding some dimensions for units for various things. Is that something that is in alignment with our guidelines, or that isn't something I've seen before on Prometheus metrics?
I think, yeah, I was going to say, Frederick, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I actually commented on that. So for all like standardized resources, we should definitely have separate metrics for this. So like CPU cores, memory, etc. For like extension ones, I don't think we can get around doing something generic, but for everything that is like standardized core resources, we should definitely have separate metrics, because the kind of the go ahead.
Extension metrics are all unitless then, or they're integers, right?
So even if that's the case, I think the proposal was to put the type of resource into a label, and even that already kind of violates the like rule of thumb of Prometheus, which is like any metric must be summable on all dimensions and still make sense, essentially. Which, when you're mixing types of resources, it's kind of gibberish, the result, right? But if you're like, let's say, CPU metrics or something, right? If you sum all of those over all clusters, they all make sense, right? The result makes sense.
But I mean, Frederick, like, it's a rule, but if it doesn't match what people actually need, is it a good rule, right? Like, I understand the tension on there. I just don't think the discoverability of Prometheus around metric label or around metric names is good enough to justify that, right? Like, that's the challenge. Like,
oh, hey, Clayton.
Yeah, sorry, I was late. I had another meeting.
No problem.
Perfect timing.
It's like, yeah, perfect timing.
It's a huge topic, right? Like, I don't want to like try and like negotiate it like now. I just like how do I go find all of the things that are related? I got to go do wildcard queries on metric names. That's awesome. If only I had some sort of system for categorizing subsets of series within a group, right? Like, that's the counter argument to that rule of thumb.
Yeah, I think in particular, because we need the generic mechanism anyways, it is definitely confusing to have both, like the mixture. I can certainly see that argument. And having one thing that is consistent in itself is probably better than having two. So yeah, I think I could live with that.
I struggled with splitting it. Like, I after splitting out the concrete ones, they can have a good description. So, you know, it kind of comes down to, when you split out a metric series, you can have unique metadata on the description. Do we do a good enough job exposing that all the places in Prometheus or other monitoring systems? No, but that would be an argument for the individual metric name. But discoverability is pretty rough. And as an admin, I do not care about all the different extension resources, whereas I know every time I'm probably going to, I mean, the vast majority of admins are going to look at CPU and memory, ephemeral storage, say we added network, like every new thing we add to the standard model. I think there's a reasonable assumption they're going to look at those. And they're, you know, they do that for container memory metrics today. And there's like 5 different variants in container memory. Each of those has a unique meaning. They each need a description. But then you start getting into extensions, and the system can't give you good metadata about them. Is the right thing to do to be a little bit more formal about resource assignment in Kubernetes and say there should be a way in Kubernetes to name the meaning of extension resources? We don't have that today. We could move down that path, in which case that would be an argument for, you know, for every one of those that we had metadata on, we could display a better description, and we could give it a unique name, and there might be a discoverable mechanism.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like that idea, but I don't think I think we can probably go ahead with the generic mechanism for now. And like, should we discover that what you just proposed is something that people want anyways, then I think it could be something we could go down. But I don't think it necessarily needs to be as part of this cap right now for like to start implementing it.
The worst one for extension resources was every extension resource is going to have a slash and a dot in the name and probably dashes, which transliterates to metric names abysmally. And so already an end user would struggle, like you will not be able to cut and paste a resource and then use it in 5 different contexts. You would have to apply those rules yourself. So that would be probably the strongest argument for extension. And I can buy the argument of the generic mechanism if everybody's okay with living with it. And we can always get feedback, you know, if people find out that they really want to do the sum and they're uncomfortable putting the slice in, some room to change.
Yeah, I think I can agree to that.
Don't let Julian know.
Anything else on this cap? Sounds like no. We can come back to this one if somebody thinks of something. I think we have like 2 or 3 more to go through. I think 2 more. Kubernetes systems components log sanitization. Let's see what's going on with this one. We plan to work on this one in 120. Yay. And it was missing a bunch of things. Specifically, it wasn't implementable, it didn't have test plans, and it didn't have graduation criteria. So is that, I'm hoping, and I'm sure that the, where is the cap link?
So I will be working with Pavel to finish this next week.
Okay. I would suggest that you try to do that as quickly as possible, given that like this needs to be merged and in that state by next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see, like, maybe there's a PR here. No, I don't see it. Okay, I will. I'll put a like pingy reminder on here. Cool. And then this one, I think the cap has not been merged. It was still very provisional.
Yeah, I think they have a work in progress PR as well, which was really helpful.
Yeah, I saw that, like a POC PR.
Yep. And Ben Elder was checking it out, which was really helpful, actually. I think maybe we should have him be a reviewer on the cap.
Great. Let me pull up the cap and I can pull him in if it loads. Oh, he's already a reviewer, so.
Great.
Yeah, he's reviewed, so that's great. Cool, so I think that one is chugging along. And hopefully it's clear what the release team wants there. So is there, that's all the caps. Is there anything else that we want to go over in the cap review, or anything else, I guess, that we'd want to discuss in terms of any of these caps? I see some heads shaking now. I'll stop sharing my screen. Thanks for bearing with me as I try to make the release team's life easier. And I've got to wear my SIG Mom hat.
All right. Looks like we're out of topics for today. I guess we can give everybody 3 minutes of their time back and have a wonderful.
I actually completely forgot. Yeah, so I have one thing I wanted to demo real quick, just for fun.
Go ahead.
I'm not planning to do anything with it, but I think it's an interesting topic, obviously, because I looked at it. So let me, how do I share my screen? Here we go. Let's do, oops, let's do this one. So I spent a little bit of time working on a little proof of concept for something to monitor systemd. Mostly, I feel like it's really hard to monitor. The kubelet today will monitor Docker, and it'll monitor the kubelet, it'll monitor Docker, and that's it. But oftentimes I run a bunch of stuff like npd, and I maybe want to know information about journald as well. CAdvisor does an okay job of this if I run it, but it's really expensive if I just want to monitor one C group for npd, for example. And Kubernetes is kind of hard to configure as well. And there's the node exporter, which has some really cool systemd metrics, but it's not resource usage, it's just basically state metrics. So is it running, is it not running? And I kind of want both of these, but just for a small set of services like kubelet, Docker, npd, journald. This is also sort of interesting because the summary API has these metrics, and at least for a while, I was very interested in getting rid of the summary API. So maybe this is something that could help with that. Let's see. Let me switch to sharing it. So I wrote this little demo. It doesn't do anything other than collect CPU, memory, and I picked a random state metric, but you can get all sorts of things like restarts. Let me make this bigger screen. So if I query this, it's just giving me the same sort of CPU metric that I would get from CAdvisor, the same sort of memory metric that I would get from CAdvisor, but also then I can get sort of node exporter style state metrics. And so I'm not actually planning to do anything with this, but I wanted to present it just to kind of share it with everyone. And maybe this will be a useful thing to pursue in the future.
That's really cool. I actually kind of found a similar project by Povilas. He wrote a systemd exporter. I'm not sure if you're aware.
I'm not.
He actually has like the unit state stuff in there and a bunch of similar things. So it might be worth sharing the effort in that case, especially if you don't plan on like maintaining it going forward or something.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually great.
I can link you to that. I'm like running this on my local machine just for the sake of having these metrics of systemd.
For some reason, I can't add things to the agenda.
Put it on the doc.
All right, very cool. Thanks for sharing. I think Matthias said he'll put the
yeah, I'm trying to find the link and
the
put
agenda.
it in.
Great.
All right, with that, we're out of time. And everybody have a wonderful local time and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.